Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR. As always, I'm joined by the bearded one, Tex. Tonight, we got a great show. Or this afternoon, Brent Thomas, Paranormal Portal, will be joining us shortly. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, hit the alert bell, and share with friends. You can find us on YouTube at Texas Front Porch. That's TX' Front Porch, and Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. In addition, you can find us on Odyssey Radio and iHeartRadio, along with KPNL Radio. Thanks to the lovely Aunt Selene for that. You can also find us wherever podcasts are, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Spreaker. We're on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. You can also reach us by email at Cryptid Encounters. And don't forget, once again, to subscribe. Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. They're on YouTube. If you like and enjoy our content, our super chat's open. Our super thanks is open for after the show. If you catch it later, that's an option for you. Also, you go to our About pages for PayPal, Venmo, and our online stores. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to pull up text. Whoops, wrong guy. It happens, text. You know it happens.
Can't take you anywhere, bro.
Can't take me anywhere. And, you know, things happen, man. And, you know, it's probably because, you know, usually you and I, we do some banter back and forth, try to be funny. But just getting into it here for those that did not hear, my condolences goes out to Kerry, Arnold's family, and Linda for the tragedy that happened a couple of days ago, driving home from work. You know, I'm going to leave it at that, text, because I just want to offer my sympathy, my empathy, and it's a sad thing. And it's not, regardless of what you do for a living or whether you're into Bigfooting or if you're into sports or gambling or you build homes. People are people, and a person to be taken that young, I still cannot process it. And so my thoughts are out to the family. And with that being said, because I'm bad with these things anyways, Tex, you can offer your sentiment, if you will.
Well, you know, Kerry was a really good friend of mine, and there's a lot of people out there that he touched, and it's like you said, it is it's a tragedy, you know, and everybody's dealing with it in their own way. And I've been in touch with Linda and Daniela and all them, and they're moving forward, you know, and as soon as they get everything taken care of, and we'll see, you know, they'll do a tribute to Kerry and everything. So,
very well.
But, just give them their space, give them their privacy, and let them take care of business. And that's what we'll do.
Very good. Thanks, Tex. I'm bringing up Brent. Hey, we got Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Portal joining us. Brent, it's really a pleasure to have you on. I think you were on back when we first started, maybe a year or so ago. And I said, you know, it's time to give Brent a call. And Brent, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm just glad I wasn't picking my nose when my camera came on.
I've been known to do that, Brent, and I do it on purpose. I do it on purpose.
Use my back scratcher like, oh.
Now, I was making sure everything was all clear for you. I wouldn't do it to you on purpose. If I didn't like you, perhaps.
Well, yeah, but I'm glad you like me, and thanks, guys, for having me on. This is a real pleasure. It's really cool to be here with you guys.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Damn right it is.
Always a pleasure. You know, Brent, before we get into the crux of the show, I know that you had did a little work for Kerry when he was out. You took up the mic in his absence a couple times as a host or co-host. And if you want to drop any couple thoughts before we get started, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like a kick in the chest to all of us. It's hard to process. You know, he was such an exceptional guy, and he gave so freely of himself to so many people. What he accomplished in just those few years was absolutely epic. I mean, and still he was always the same guy, and just coming from a sincere and caring place And I just, my heart breaks for the family most of all. That's a really tough blow, but it's a tough blow for all of us. And I just want to put it out there that I thank God that I was able to call that man my friend. And I feel really fortunate that I was able to be a part of his journey, if only for a little while. And there's people that shape us, I think, as we go through life, and we take lessons and we take cues from them. And Kerry was definitely one of those men for me. So it's just it's hard to process, but he gave this amazing gift to us all, and I think it's incumbent upon us to try to continue that journey and move it forward. So
Well said, Brent. Well said. Thank you for that. So moving forward, Brent, hey, I got a question. Paranormal portal. How did you get involved with the paranormal?
I think there's never been a time in my life that I wasn't absolutely fascinated by it. Even as a young child, and I didn't have like a childhood of growing up with a lot of experiences, but I was fascinated with the idea that these things have existed in our world and continue to exist in our world. And I think maybe some of it is the romantic idea that there's still magic in the world, there's still wonder, there's still discovery to be made. Because nothing, I think nothing would be worse for me personally if the world was all labeled, it was all sorted out, it was all figured out, and was just on its shelf and the scientific title, and boom. I love the fact that we have a lot to learn and there's a lot of things going on. And so it's just been this fascinating journey for me personally to try to understand what this stuff is and what does it mean, because I don't think it's just where reality goes sideways and things get goofy. I think that these are demonstrations of some pretty incredible demonstrations of the dynamic nature of our reality that we live in, that it's not a rigid, static thing. Our reality is fluid, and it's expansive, and it has, there's a rhythm to it or something. And so that's been the journey for me. It's just I want to understand it.
Yeah, it looks like Tex was going to chime in with something. Go ahead, Tex.
Yeah, you talk about a rhythm, and that reminded me of a lot of people talk about frequency,
Mm.
And I've been thinking a lot more about that lately. And I don't know how much, because I really haven't explored a lot, about
Mhm.
that. But I know um, Rob is a big fan of that theory about everything being on its own frequency, and that's why we get glimpses of this other world. And I'm like, I think there may be something to that. He may not be absolutely nuts. And
Thank you, Tex. I heard that, by the way.
ain't gonna be no living with him now. Um, it's, but when you talk about a rhythm, I think it's, I think life has a rhythm.
Mhm.
And when somebody throws a monkey wrench into the works, and I think that's what having these experiences does to us. It upsets our rhythm
Right.
and puts us on a whole new frequency, as it were,
Mhm.
Mhm.
with what's going on around us, and what we do and don't see what's going on around us. Because I think so many people, and I know a lot of them, that are so closed off to any possibilities of
Mhm.
there being anything else except the black and white version of the road they're going down. And being one that's had my eyes opened by life throwing that monkey wrench in there.
Mhm.
I find it almost feel sorry for the folks that are not getting to experience it, because there's so much more out there, you know. But anyway, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on the little rhythm thing. How.
I think those are great points, and I think that there's, I'm so, I don't know if I'm being premature and getting to this part, but something just occurred to me recently, and it's something that I'm really intrigued to explore further. I don't know how, because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a quote unquote researcher of any kind. I do research from time to time, but I don't consider myself a researcher. But what intrigues me, and it's probably by virtue of being able to do a show and to hear from so many people and to see so many examples of people having these incredible events, and to see similarities between the phenomena. There's similarities between the Bigfoot and the UFO and the ghost and the strange phenomena. There seems to be some bleed through there. And what occurred to me is that we oftentimes regard this stuff as if we're a pinball bouncing off the bumpers of this weirdness. And excuse me, hold on. What occurred to me is that maybe we're not just observers. Maybe we're an integral part of this, meaning that we're not just, because I don't like looking at it from a place of helplessness. Like, well, maybe something's going to appear and there's not much you can do about it. Or maybe there's things going on to us and it's just going to happen and you got to somehow come to terms with that. And we're left to feel like that, like these things have happened and we have to reshape our entire paradigm around it. But I think we're an integral part of these experiences. Now, that could mean some hauntings, not all. I believe that there's plenty of things out there and beings out there, but some hauntings might be projections, much like the poltergeist phenomena, where it's believed to be projected from the person into the environment around them. Some we may become aware of because maybe we're the ones that are shifting into the experience of these other things. Maybe that's why Bigfoot are reported to just phase out. Maybe it's not they're phasing out. Maybe our awareness is like we're glimpsing a different vibration or something. And I know it might sound way out there, and I apologize to that to any of you guys out there that are like, oh my God, drink the Kool-Aid. But I think we often dismiss ourselves from this. But we are a part of these experiences. The only common denominator in all of these things is us. So we don't really look at ourselves as part of the phenomena. We look at ourselves as the victims of the phenomena, or these, just unintentional observers of it. But I think maybe we're the ones that are shifting into these different experiences, or our awareness is expanding at that point and bringing us into these experiences. And then maybe it's shock, maybe it's fear or whatever that brings us back out, So that's kind of my new pet theory. I don't know how to look into it further, but it seems to make sense.
It kind of does, and this is funny you bring this up, Brent, because Tex he can speak to this as well. Just last night we did a show on art and aliens, right? Are we the ones manifesting these things? An artist will go out and have his rendition, not of a gray, but of something else. Something they just whip up, and all of a sudden, enough people see these things and project these things, kind of like the tulpas, and all of a sudden, we are actually creating. Are we the ones not creating the aliens, right?
Maybe. I think there's merit to that, at least in some cases. I don't pretend that there aren't, beings that are visiting us from wherever, multidimensional or from the cosmos or wherever. But I think in some cases we're an integral part of this, and maybe even projecting that, like, as you said, perfectly said, the tulpa phenomena, where it's projected. Thought forms are created from whatever, maybe it's some unresolved stuff within us. We've all got baggage, we all got luggage, so that stuff tends to manifest in our lives one way or another, and maybe sometimes it manifests as some of this fantastic phenomena.
Yeah, and two, I also believe that people that have encounters, Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs, aliens, I think, Brent, back to one of your points, certain people are meant to experience things.
Sure.
Now, it might. I think that I experiences as early as maybe 5 to 7 years of age that I can remember. But I was just as a kid thinking just that, a dream. And then I think when I had an encounter, it's totally changed my viewpoint on life. I think that it happened for a reason, and I think that people that have these encounters or of any type of encounter, you see more of these things. You're open up. Your mind is more open as we talk about the frequencies, the vibrations. You're more apt to see things. But I think also certain people, it was predetermined for them to have these experiences to do what they're doing today. See, I love what I do today because I look at myself as much like Tex does, and Jason is helping people.
Mhm.
I'm an open ear to bend to people when they have gone through traumatic encounters. I've gone through just more than Bigfoot. I've gone through
Mhm.
a lot of things, a lot of experiences, and I think I was purposely led down this path. I do. I think it was my calling, right? And I know that sounds corny, but to me it is. But you know what? There's also people in research. I don't care what the subject, 30 years, 40 years, they haven't come across a Bigfoot, an entity, a ghost, an alien, a UFO. And there's a reason for that. They weren't meant to see it, right? I didn't go out looking for what I found. It found me.
Mhm.
And I believe that certainly goes the same with people that are actively pursuing these things and they're dry. 30
Mhm.
years, boom.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think, but again, you were a part of your own experience. So I do believe you're right, though. I think that there's probably a whole concert of things going on in these experiences. It's not, I don't think they're random, but I don't pretend to know who's orchestrating this or why. But I think those are the big questions. It's like, because they are transformative. These experiences are transformative, and they tend to bring people well, to first have to challenge their paradigm because, when you think of a paradigm, it's just the box we live in. That's the comfort. That's the safe place. And these things happen. And suddenly that box is much too small. It doesn't fit anymore. And you have to expand who you are, or at least your understanding to some degree. I mean, there's still denial. I mean,
Yeah.
we all can push things down like nobody's business, but I think it's in there somewhere, and it's a seed, and what you do with it then is your opportunity. Like for you, you had these experiences, Rob, and you've chosen to push forward into this venue where you can help people deal with theirs, and when you can talk to people and give them a platform as well, and you Tex as well, and myself, of course. I like to think that we're all helping people come to terms with what they're dealing with, and I know we all have talked to those people that are like, oh my God, it feels so good. I've been carrying this for 20, 30,
Yeah.
40 years. And it's like this therapeutic release. And they're like, God, it's like putting down bricks I've been carrying for years. So, and that to me is a sincere honor, because there's got to be a sacred trust in that, because these people have been surrounded by loved ones and others, but they didn't feel that that was the right place to put it. They didn't know how that would affect their lives, but we've provided this opportunity, and it's fantastic. And it's, and it brings every account, I think, brings us more understanding, because everybody is a unique witness. Everybody sees things differently. I mean, I can talk to people that have had very similar experiences, almost textbook similar, but they both tell me a little bit of a different story, and it gives me a better understanding of this phenomena. And I think that that's amazing. So it's kind of a pretty incredible cycle when you think about it.
Well, I I'm after everything that I've seen, everything I've dealt with, and experiences I've had, I'm still trying to get my mind wrapped around this whole lost time thing, and now being possibly abducted by aliens, and it's so I find myself going back to the mindset of when I first started having these experiences and having to process them and deal with them all over again.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, I've got I'm not necessarily say a better support around me, but different, because like when I had my dogman encounter, it was just my family,
Mm.
and they never told me I was crazy or whatever, but they did try to, rationalize it by, well, maybe it wasn't what you thought and your imagination took over and type thing like that. But it was their way in trying to help me deal with it. But
Right.
this is different because I've got experience with not only my own, encounters, but helping others along the road. And now I find myself on the other side of the curtain. So it's in the outpouring of support that I've had since that came about, since Jessica remote viewed it and said, well, this is what happened, and it's like just the outpouring of support and love, it was overwhelming, on the second show that we did about it, new evidence came to light and it shook me up, because I wasn't ready for it, because I didn't know that existed out there. And it was confirmed by two different people that, and I'm like, what do you mean? It kind of solidified it. I think it went from surreal to, oh shit, type thing.
Yeah.
But it's when you have that support ring around you, and I think it's a lot easier for people to handle what's going on out there. And I saw a comment earlier, there's people are having a lot more experiences, and they're right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on, but something is going on. A lot of people call it the
thinning of the veil.
Yeah, the thinning of the veil. And I don't know who's thinning the veil. I don't know if it's us or it's the other entities. But it's interesting to see the amount of people that were starting to talk to that, and the experiences and encounters that we hear about is in these places that we research have just, it's just such an uptick, and that's almost a too small a word for it. It's like it's just like when you foam up a beer and it overflows. That's what that's kind of what I see going on with the paranormal activity and the cryptid activities and the UFOs too. But I don't know how much of that is everybody seeing it on what we call the mainstream news, and there's more people open to it now. So, all this, talk about maybe we're the ones giving us the stuff, the energy to materialize and manifest. It really is looking like there's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree completely, because we're a part of the equation, and certainly, I guess if you look at all of the fields, whether it's ghosts, UFO, Bigfoot, other cryptids, there was a time where these things just were not talked about, and it wasn't that long ago. So it just became a topic relegated to the shadows. It was just, maybe whispering to one or two confidants, and then it was just not discussed, because nobody wanted to be that person that, oh yeah, there's weirdy over there, but now people can have the dialogue, and possibly it's thanks to, of course, the proliferation of shows that are discussing it, both on TV and on radio, like Coast to Coast was, I think, the big spear tip for this, for people having this dialogue and for being able to discuss it. And then, of course, if you believe in an idea such as like manifesting, that we can manifest things, well, the more that it's discussed, the more that these ideas are shared, the more examples that get shown to demonstrate to people that this is out there, the more people are willing to accept it. And I think that probably everybody has had paranormal or supernatural experiences in their life. It's just we're really good at explaining those things away or dismissing them. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people, like, it starts out, I don't believe in ghosts, but this one time, and they'll go on and they'll use some like Amityville horror kind of stuff. And then but I don't know what happened there, but I don't believe in ghosts.
And I think a lot of that is they don't want to, because
Right.
if they do, it shatters their reality.
Right.
Yeah. It takes away that security blanket, of that of monsters don't exist.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, and people will aggressively defend their paradigm, because again, that's the safe spot. That's the safe place. They know it. It feels comfortable. So when something comes that challenges that, that's that just breaks everything. So but you're right. I think things are changing. And whether that's a combination of factors, is it some frequency that we're riding in, and it's going higher and we're resonating higher than we ever have before? Is it also in concert with the idea that we're discussing it, so we're opening ourselves up to the possibilities of it? I don't know that there's more of it. There very well might be, and there might not be. It's impossible to quantify that, but people are talking more and sharing more, and therefore it does change. Like I think there's two paradigms: a personal paradigm and a social paradigm that we share. And I think that social paradigm is what's really changing in concert with personal paradigms. And if we allow things to come through, if we open our eyes, I guess is the quote unquote, whether that's a interpersonal thing, if it's a physical thing, or if it's some esoteric thing, I don't know. But if we open our eyes, we start to see what's out there. Like I've often said, I don't know that this is true. It's more of an intuitive thing, but it's like, man, I'll bet you if everybody could just suddenly see every spirit, just boom, we would see that we're swimming in a world of spirits. Like there's just energies and spirits all around. And I know energies is a real nebulous term, but I mean that there's intelligences around us all the time, and we're not aware of them. And maybe those intelligence largely aren't aware of us either. Like, we could be existing right alongside each other, but just in a different phase somehow, so that our realities really don't overlap very often. But when they do, maybe those are the paranormal events. And so it's just a fascinating series of ideas and possibilities, but it's also exciting. It
is. And it's I don't, maybe it is just maybe the frequency of the whole environment is changing. Maybe we're reaching a point of harmonics, and that's why more people are seeing more stuff. Maybe that difference between the frequencies is getting closer and getting closer and getting closer. And when we do hit that point of the perfect harmonics, like you said, we may see everything that's around us. And which is kind of a scary thought, to be honest with you, because I mean,
and really in concert with what Tex just said, Brent, I think, look at today, like year 2022, you mentioned Coast to Coast. That was like the original, that's where you went to listen to High Strangeness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly it captured the attention of many people. But now look at here today. 10 years ago, there was not 1 million podcasts. There was, that there is today. Everywhere you go on YouTube or a couple, maybe select radio shows, people are talking about whether it's the paranormal, aliens, cryptids. It's being talked about every day. I mean, you can find a show every day at any time of the day, of the hour. And I think more people are more involved. I think more people are open-minded to this. And I think that does allow more of these encounters or these experiences to happen. As I made mention earlier, I knew I saw ghosts as a kid, but I didn't know that until I had an encounter where this rabbit hole I've gone down has had me see other things. I've seen ghosts in my bar. I've seen ghosts in my house. I've seen black dust coming down a hallway. I mean, I've had so many things happen to me since my encounter. But then again, though, Brent and Tex, reverting back to childhood, that's really when it started. But my mind was closed off as being a kid, as being, look, I think I'm dreaming. I would wake up going to mommy and daddy's bedroom. I had a nightmare. And that's what they told me, I was having a nightmare. When in reality, it probably wasn't a nightmare, a lot of these things.
Yeah, that's like one of the and I understand. I think obviously parents are trying to soothe their children. It's like, oh no, it's your imagination. No, you had a nightmare and stuff. But I think it's important to listen to those kids because I mean, in so many experiences and tales, we hear that some of the first people to see spiritual activity after dogs and cats is children, and they're having conversations with people, and of course as a parent, and no, it's okay, there's nothing there, and I think we have to be careful with that kind of stuff because we're doing just what you're talking about, Rob. We're shutting down that possibility for them because we're telling them, no, don't trust what you've experienced. And do kids have imagination? Sure, but I think if you really listen to the experience, sometimes there might be genuine spiritual activity going on that these kids are trying to understand. And so I think you have to give these kids a sympathetic ear. It's all just, I mean, think about that. A kid is in their bed and they see some creature coming out of their closet. Now, this is a tale that's as old as time. Kids see things like that. Is it real or not? I don't know for sure, but the kid believes it's real. So they're terrified. They run into the parents' room. Quit bugging me. You're just a nightmare. Just get back to bed. So they went to the one safe place they had. And that safe place just told them that it's all in their mind. It's an imaginary thing. And they have to go back to the very location they were just terrified of alone. I mean, God, that's damaging.
Brent and Tex, he knows where I'm going to go with this because I don't bring this up unless prompted. And Brent, you certainly prompted something with me about the children. This is a long, I'm not going to get into this. It's an elaborate story. I'm going to get into it really quickly about the children. Mm-hmm. Years ago, my brother and sister bought a home. Well, actually, it was built in a new subdivision. My niece at the time, she's about 5 or 6. So I spent the night like 3 times at the house. And every night that I spent the night in my bedroom that I was sleeping in, the door would open and I would see a figure of Lauren. That was my niece. About 5 foot. I could tell it's her shadow. Hi, Lauren, Uncle Robbie, you want to come let me tell you a story? The door would shut. So this happened 3 different occasions. Finally, on the 4th occasion, I said, I'm going to get her. She's playing games with me. She opens the door. I get up out of bed. I run down the hallway, which is 12 feet away, go in her bedroom, and she is snug in her bed, blankets curled up, tight, sleeping soundly. Fast forwarding, this also happened at Thanksgiving. My mom had brought this up, said it happened to her. My brother and sister-in-law now look at her and say, you guys, Lauren talks to this person in the closet. And her calls her Jenny. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, we thought we were thinking about taking her, to see somebody. And they've also made mention they saw shadows of Lauren in the home, but they just thought they were seeing things, thought it was perhaps her, but she'd be talking into the closet. So, and they had, and they could see her because they had like French doors that were made of glass, and they would observe. Karen, she would observe. Lauren, honey, who are you seeing? She goes, Mom, I'm talking to Jenny. And every time you come in, Jenny disappears. She goes, well, why is that, honey? And she goes, well, because, Mom, she does not like adults. Adults are bad.
Ooh.
And then she's like, and then out of a 5-year-old's mouth, she goes, yeah, white man massacred her family.
Oh, man.
So now this is coming out of a little girl, right? 5, 6 years old. And my sister-in-law is like, got with my brother. Man, what should we do? So my brother, though, before rushing off saying our kid's crazy, because nobody wants to admit that their child has a problem.
Sure.
He does some investigations. And long story short, Brent, this house was built on an Indian burial ground where, in fact, during the research that First Nations people were, in fact, murdered by white people running through there. So what does that tell you?
Mm-hmm.
That was a ghost. That was a soul that's stuck there. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I've got to admit that I had to catch myself for that very same reason. My little boy, he's like 7 now, but at the time he was like 2, maybe 1.5, but he used to be fearless. He would just go anywhere, light on or off. He didn't care. And one day he went into the darkened bedroom by himself just to grab something. And he came running out with like the dish eyes, like monster, monster. And he wasn't real verbally articulate, so he could only say monster. And I caught myself. I caught myself going, oh no, there's no. And I was like, oh, don't say that. No. And I said, did you see a monster? And he goes, yeah. And he's got the big saucer eyes still. I'm like, oh, I said, does it scare you? And he said, yeah. I said, do you want me to come with you? And he said, yeah, so he could get his toy. So I took his little hand and we walked in, and it's a knee-jerk reaction, because you don't want your kid to be afraid, and you want them to feel everything's okay. But in this stuff we feel powerless. So I didn't know what monster meant, and I didn't know for a long time, but every once in a while he would freak out. And so I knew there was something around. So of course, I'm cleansing the house and saging and making sure there's no monster here. And so I went through all of that, but it wasn't until we were at Walmart and we were just going through the aisles, and they had this bin of those backrests that you put on your bed. It looks like a little recliner back with the arms. And there was one that was really black, like jet black and fuzzy. And we're rolling along. I got him in the cart. He turns, his eyes get big, and he points at that black one and says, monster, monster. So I was like, oh, now I know what he saw. He saw some form of black mass. And instinctively he knew that was bad and ran away. So at least, but I wanted to just say, no, it's fine. No, there's nothing in there. But then I had to stop myself, and like, if I do that, I'm telling him not to trust himself in his observations, not to, I'm shutting him down basically. And that I can't do that. So I learned that you got to listen.
Yeah. You do.
Yeah, this is my brother one time. It's funny how kids will react to differently to different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, when I was a little bitty kid, my older brother, he gets tired of me coming in his room bugging him, just annoying ass little kid. And he starts telling me that there's a giant rat that lives behind the dresser, and everything, trying to scare me. I start trying to get him to hunt it with me. We're going to kill it. He's like, man, I couldn't get rid of you for nothing. But on the flip side of that, I used to have, and I remember this, I used to have 2 what we call imaginary friends,
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to them all the time. I remember having them, but I don't remember a lot of the interaction with them because I was so young. But I've heard my parents talk about it. And it was like for some reason they would show up when my mom used to tell me they would show up a lot. I talked to them a lot when I got in trouble. So but she said, I never knew who you were talking to. I would just walk in your bedroom and it was like, who are you talking to? And I mean, I was a little bitty kid, barely talking. And I called them Roro and Dada.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. It's weird, but I didn't start getting scared of stuff that I remember until I was a little older. And for some reason, I had this period where I was scared of the dark. And I don't know why that it's weird how it develops and then it fades and stuff.
Yeah.
But Charles's text, when you were little, yeah, I was little at one point.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's something intuitive, maybe you just knew on some emotional level, because I think we all have that sense. Like we have, when I talk to people, tell them about my situations, I've had several paranormal experiences, but then whenever childhood experiences, it was pretty much when I was a teenager was my first into my adult life. But people ask, well, how do you know it wasn't evil? Well, how do you know it isn't evil? Because when I was in the presence of what I thought was evil, I knew it through my whole body. It was just like it was like I was sitting in a pool of hate and whatever, and I think that we do have those intuitions, like they're just part of our makeup. And maybe it's from some time when we were fighting our way to the top of the food chain, when we were on the menu and you were on something that wanted to hurt you. I mean, how many stories have you guys heard? Like, oh, I was in the woods having a great day walking along and boom, suddenly I felt something was watching me and I just knew I could just feel this hate. And I think that's like our intuitive sixth sense, if you will. So, and I think you got to trust that, maybe as a kid, you were afraid of the dark because you felt like the dark wasn't just the dark. There was something else in it. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. I think, again, I think we're swimming in a world of spirits and sometimes the dark things show up, So I really believe in that. I think that, and I it's just my own take on it, but I think we know when you're in the presence of evil.
I think you do too, Brent. But what do you do though in the instance of some of these entities? I hate to say demon, but perhaps, I don't know.
Mhm.
And I get it. Your intuition, when you feel dread or you feel hate, you feel it. There's no two ways about it. What about people that I've spoken with? Maybe you have, Brent, that they're having encounters with entities that appear to be friendly.
Mhm.
And
So-
then as time goes on, it's really something that's after something else, and they were just posing as being friendly.
Sure. Like I'll tell you, personally, and I don't mean to suggest there are none, but whenever a story starts with, we had this little kid spirit, it's like red flag time, because I think that in things like demons and dark principalities and sorts, I think that the object for a demon. So here, let me just say this. I think the word demon in the paranormal is incredibly overused, misused, and misrepresented. And I think it's because it sounds impressive. So it's like street cred.
Yeah.
We had to get rid of a demon in the synagogue.
Yeah.
That
right.
sounds really cool, rather than, their cereal bowl was moving, so we saged the place.
Well,
Sounds way
come on.
cooler to say
Yeah.
you're dealing with a demon. So
Yeah.
I think that that's probably one of the reasons. But I don't think, I think with these demons, the last thing they want is for you to know they're there. The very last thing they want, because the objective, as I understand it, for a demonic force is to destroy you or to consume you or to take you over. Now, the best way to do that is if you don't really know it's there. You get things like oppression. You get the feeling like you just can't smile, like you'll feel like you'll never be in the sunlight again. This dark oppression overcomes people and they don't know why. It's like, what's going on? Am I dealing with some depression? What's going on? And it just wears people down. And usually demonic encounters are a war of attrition. It's not just boom, you're dealing with a demon. It's like by the time you realize that you may be dealing with a demon, it's really late in the game. And it's getting really dangerous because, that's what they want. They don't want you to know they're there and to fight back when you're still strong and robust and coming from a real positive place. They want you broken. They want you weak, and they want you to feel helpless. They'll scare, do fearful things, make you afraid, make you sad, they cause doubt and mistrust in everyone around you, because it's like any other abusive relationship. An abuser wants to isolate they're abused. So they don't like them to connect with other people and stuff, because there's strength in that. So I do think you're right. I think a lot of those things start out really subtle, incredibly subtle, but these are not just the run of the mill things. These are intelligence that are older than time, and they want to take us over and destroy us and consume us. But with my theory on this is a lot of child stories, child ghosts. It's a disarming of us, because if you are a normal person, of average, intelligence and emotional intelligence, when we see a child, we are absolutely,
that leaves me out of it.
yeah, we are absolutely compelled to try to help. And I'm not talking about broken people. I'm talking
Yeah.
about, the average person. You want to help a child. It's weak, it's lonely. And so they appear that way sometimes. And I do believe that there are children spirits, don't get me wrong, but it's I think much more rare than we're led to believe. But anyway, what a demon wants to do is to take you over, or darkness. I don't know that they're all demonic, but there are these dark things. They want to take you over. They want to break you. So they have to get through your defenses in order to do that. The long game is oppression and such.
Mm-hmm.
The short game is to open yourself up to something you think needs help. And so you open up to these children spirits. That people, we leave it gifts. We tell it we want it to stay. We want it to be here. Well, you just acquiesce to it. You're allowing it into your space openly and willingly. And that, I think, empowers it, because hauntings and dark hauntings and stuff don't start like, your cupboard doors are slamming and stuff. It starts out really, really subtle. So I think there's some kind of process that needs to happen. But with child spirits, that's always a red flag to me, because what if you're wrong?
That kind of bleeds into what we've been talking about quite a bit. And it's what I talk about a lot with these cases, that these people are just normal, everyday, average, terrific people, terrific parents or whatever. And then one day they just go completely nuts.
Right.
And they kill their family or somebody else or whatever. And then they don't remember doing it, or they say something else had a hold of me or something like that. Sure. And I think that, like you were saying, they wait for that weak point. And like I talked about, I mentioned it last night. When was it last night?
Probably. You're going to have to speak on it, I could tell you.
But maybe it was Monday. Hell, I don't remember. It's been kind of a blur this week. But anyway, it's what we call postpartum depression. I think maybe that is the weak point that these entities can get in there, and doing drugs and everything, and being in, when we talk about addicts hitting, rock bottom. I think that's another, time. Maybe it's as little as, it don't have to be something as drastic as those two. Sure. It's just you hit a low point in your life, or you're questioning your faith or your sanity in yourself. And I think, and it being subtle is struck a tone with me when you said that, because you may not realize it. You may just have a dark dream and just shake it off, and then one day there's a show called The Sinner. I don't know if y'all have heard about it, but it's about exactly what I'm talking about. One of the episodes is, I think it's the first episode. This woman, they're out on the beach with their two kids or their kid and her husband. They're just having a great day at the beach. And there's this group of kids, I say kids, 20s, college kids, in front of them on a blanket, just having a good time, innocently, blah, blah, blah. Out of nowhere, she just gets up she's peeling an apple or something for the kids. She just gets up, goes over and stabs this young man to death.
Oh, dude. Wow.
And has no idea why she did it. But the whole show is based on that type of stuff. And when I saw that show, I'm like, that's what I've been talking about, And I've yet to find out what their version of this is, what happens. But it's, I've kind of, I don't know if I coined the term or not, but I've never heard it, but acute possession, where the dark entity that we're talking about gets in there, has it spun, and gets out and leaves us hanging, holding the bag to deal with the aftermath. And that's what worries me about when I see all these young people talking about being broken, talking about being, doing self-harm and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, man, there are so many opportunities for really, really dark stuff to take a hold of.
Yeah.
And I think it relies a lot on the parents you need to recognize this. You need to step in, and you don't need to just throw medication down the kid's throat. You need to find out what's really going on.
Right.
But that's just my take on it.
Yeah. Well, there's another term for that. It's called walk-in is a term that's commonly used as well. But I like acute possession. That's really a great way to describe it. And those, those could be another way to break a person, if for some reason, and this is all speculation. I can't pretend to know, but right. if indeed these dark things want to break people, well, if you take them over quick, you wreck their life. Yeah. After that, it gets way easier because suddenly they're in a world of problems, and people under stress don't have a robust, defense, I don't think, against spiritual attacks. So yeah, that's horrible.
Brent, thanks for that. And that's a great spot to end this because we have to take a 5-minute break for all our people on Odyssey Radio and iHeartRadio. You're going to have to come back, catch the second half, subscribe to Texas Front Porch or Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Brent Thomas of the Paranormal Portal. And when we get back to the show, Brent, I've got a question that a little birdie, I got some inside information, Brent.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to hold you in suspense till we come back.
All right.
We'll be back in 5.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Tex, I was going to ask you, was I going to have to turn that off? So I was waiting for the countdown. So, I never turned off. When it ends, you shut it off, eh?
No, it goes off by itself.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Thanks. So, everybody, Brent Thomas, Paranormal Portal, is joining Tex and I. We got a fantastic show already going. And, Brent, I alluded to something. We've been talking about the paranormal. We've been talking a little bit about ghosts and demons, and fascinating subject. I could talk for hours on that. But, since the theme is Bigfoot, I understand that you did a little research out in Coloma. Now, I got to preface this, okay? Duke Sullivan, friend of the show, if anybody hasn't seen the Glag series with Kevin Lang, it's kind of an epic show about one man's journey with Bigfoot. His name is Glag. You got to check it out. Now, I tell you, a lot of people, when you first hear that story, it's like, wow, it's kind of out there. It's like, geez, I believed in the story. And I tell you, Duke was telling me, okay, Brent, that you were one of the few people that actually did see Glag. And when I heard that, I said, man, I had to wait for the second half of the show to get in this one. Now we go 30 minutes in the second half to let you know. So please, what was that like, man?
Well, I can tell you this. Now, it was, hey, Duke, how you doing? First of all, I appreciate that. But yeah, I was up there with Kevin and Duke and a whole group of other people as well. And it was an incredible experience. It's a ghost town. So it's like this old mining camp that's, long since abandoned and where a lot of tragic things happen. And so I was up there for investigating ghostly stuff, as well as, looking into the Bigfoot presence up there as well. When Kevin was there, and I just gotten back. And so I gotta kind of clear the record for this. But I just gotten back from running all over, and I was absolutely exhausted. And so I sat down on the back end of a truck, and Kevin comes out to me and says, hey, and I took off my glasses and put them down, and it was getting to be like about twilight. And he's like, hey, you want to take a walk? I'm like, oh, sure. I'd known Kevin. He'd been on the portal, and just a great guy, and had told a bit of his story. It's really comprehensively available on World Bigfoot Radio. Yep. It's an incredible story, but he gave us the Cliff Note versions on the portal, and just amazing. But we go walking off, and he goes, I want to show you something. I'm like, oh, what's that? Now, I took off my glasses and left them in the truck. And so I'm walking on this little, it's basically nothing more than almost a game trail, because it's an old kind of road, but it's long since not roadworthy. But we're walking along. He goes, I want to show you something. He said, I got someone I want you to meet. I'm like, oh. He says, yeah, he's here. I was like, oh. And so we're standing there, and he said, "We'll see if he'll show himself." And I felt terrible because I didn't have my glasses. I just taken them off. I know, it's just all the stupid timing, right? So I took off my glasses. I'm looking up the hill. It's already twilight, so it's very shadowy and it's blurry for me. And he goes, "Yep, he's right up there. Do you see him?" And I was trying really hard. I'm doing all the squinting techniques that I know, but I never actually saw Glag, but I will tell you that there was an incredible energy in the air that I'd never felt before. And I really felt honored that he wanted to show me that. I just can't believe my luck that was the time that I took off my glasses. And so, can I honestly say I saw Glag? No. But do I believe he may have been there? Yeah, I do. There was something in the air that I've never felt before. And Kevin was telling me that that's just how they communicate. And it's more, everybody sort of mind speak. So I assume that was that. I didn't get any words. I didn't get any thought impressions or anything like that. But it was a really unusual energy, and it was very powerful.
Yeah.
But I would love to have grabbed my glasses, and I would love to say, guys, I saw it. I wish to God I had, but I just taken off my glasses. So of all the stupid moves, yeah, that's one of my big ones.
Yeah. And you talk about that energy. I know you described it as best you can. So yeah, we all hear about the energy. I got hit with energy on my encounter, but on yours it was like Europic. What's that word? I don't know. It was like you can't explain the energy you felt. You just felt good all over, I guess, maybe, or just
intense. Like it wasn't a horrible feeling. It was a really good feeling, but it was just this intense energy. It's like, oh, and I told Kevin that I'm not sure I see it, but I think I feel it. Oh my God. So it was a tangible experience.
Yeah.
And I was really very, very honored that he wanted to share that with me, because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it at all. And, it really was an amazing moment in my life. And Kevin was a great, great guy. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But I'm just so grateful that his story is still out there for people to experience, because it's an incredible experience.
Yeah, it is an incredible experience. Anybody go over check that on World Bigfoot Radio if you haven't. So let me ask you: have you come across any cryptid experiences, Brent, in your trail? I know you're not a researcher. You dabble here and there, but
sure.
have you? I know you've got some experiences, but I just want to. I'm trying to pull them out of you.
Well, I'm happy to share them all, but I'll tell you, I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I know I was in close proximity to one, or at least I believe I was. And the story was, I was 14 years old, and I'm from Minnesota, and where my family and I grew up was in a pretty rural area, but it butted right up to a state forest. And so one of the things we always did was go hike up on the bluff and on the state forest. And literally the bluff was behind my house. So it's behind my house and it starts going up. So we would walk down to a ravine area and then climb all the way up. And we spent, my childhood was spent up on that bluff. It was just this incredible place. And it was where I was the most happy. I always loved going in the forest. So we've been up on the hill. I was 14. My friend was 15. And we decided, well, it's getting late. We got to come down because, this is impossible in the nighttime. So we got to get down before it gets dark. We're working our way down, and we're coming down this dry run. And it's like it's all sandstone, limestone there. So it's like this ravine that's been carved out just primarily from spring thaws, so it's like a stream in the spring. So it's all dried up at this time of the year because it was late summer. And we're coming down, and we stop at this one spot, and we're resting. Now, we didn't see anything, nothing out of the ordinary, didn't see a thing. Well, we're standing there kind of plotting our course down the rest of this ravine. And suddenly, right behind us, about 8 to 10 feet behind us, and about 4 feet taller than us, was this growling sound. And it was the most deep, menacing growl that I've ever heard in my life. It as much shook my body as I heard it. My body was resonating with this growl. And it was the most terrifying experience in my life because I was 14 years old. Yeah, I knew that Bigfoot was a thing, but it was a thing in the Pacific Northwest because that's what Leonard Nimoy told me. I didn't know that Bigfoot was everywhere. I had no concept for this.
Yes.
And so I'm having this experience, and I don't know what the hell's behind me, but it's huge, and it's not happy that I'm there. And, you got two options. So, we're sitting there, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And my friend, and he goes, I don't know, but we got to get out of here. The biggest thing we ever had in our neighborhood, in our part of the state, was white-tailed deer. There were maybe coyotes, there were maybe There were coyotes and raccoons and fox, but there's nothing big. There's not even black bear in this area at this time. Maybe there is now, but there wasn't then. So we decided we had to get out of there. You got two options. It's fight or flight. Whatever this thing was way out of fight category for me. And so the only thing left was to run. And that's what we did. It was the most terrified I've ever been in my life because I was convinced whatever made that noise was about to kill me. Now, I could move. It wasn't like, you hear the stories, people are locked in place. They can't move. They're frozen. I could have moved. I just didn't dare because I didn't want to provoke anything. I didn't want to see what my death looked like. I was just, God, this is going to hurt, and then decided to run. And we ran and we got down. It didn't pursue. And so for the life of me, I had this terrifying memory with nothing to do with it. I didn't know what to do with it. I just thank God I wasn't alone, because that's one of those things where you'd really question your sanity after that. It's like, why is there a monster near my home? What is this? And so it wasn't until I was much older and started looking into the Bigfoot phenomena, and learning about signs and things that are attributed to them. I'd heard trees getting pushed down on that hill. It happened, actually more, now that I think about it, happened a lot more frequently than it should have, but I'd hear them come crashing down. I would hear the pops, the wood pops, and not knowing what that was. And then I went up into that bluff area as an adult, and I found tree breaks. I found these bent over maple saplings that are, 8 inches in diameter, snapped 4 feet up with no deadfall around. Nothing that could have dragged this thing down. And there's never have snow load issues in Minnesota. These are all hardwoods. So they just stand up. That's what they do. And they're broke clean, like with force. I found a structure. Now, it wasn't the teepee structures that are real common. It was almost like a dugout. It was dug out under it, and there was a bit of a buildup on the sides and top, like a lattice work of branches with leaf litter on it. So it was, pretty sizable underneath, but it was kind of dug into the hill and then covered. And it was in a position where there was these huge limestone boulders all around it. It was absolutely invisible to anybody unless you just stumbled right on it. And I did. I just was looking around so much, and I found this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, now I had a face for what I had experienced. Now I had an idea of what I was carrying for all those years. And it was a horrifying experience. It kept me out of the woods for a number of years after that. But finding out what it was, having a rudimentary understanding about what maybe I experienced was actually really cool, because it's like, okay, now I know what this means. And then all of those weird memories of hearing those trees coming down on the hills, not during storms or anything, and hearing the pops and sometimes a real weird noise that I wouldn't say it was a whoop, but it was something similar to a whoop. And you'd hear these things as a younger person, and it's just a weird forest noise, right? So I could finally quantify what maybe I experienced. I didn't see it. I can't say I saw it, but it was right behind me, and it was pissed. It was horrifying, absolutely horrifying.
It's weird. Doing all that research out by myself in Brown Springs, I can only remember one time where, now I've had several times where, okay, we ought to go ahead and get out of here. I think we've overstayed our welcome type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only remember one time that I really had that dark presence show up.
Mm.
And what I mean by presence, I don't mean I saw a dark presence, because I've seen those too, but the feeling. And I was actually, I went out there and I was waiting on somebody to show up that was going to stay the night with me and everything. And I just, I'd put camp together, had a fire going, and was sitting around camp, just taking in the vibe of the place. And it was cool. Nothing wrong, And then all of a sudden it was like a dark cloud just moved over the atmosphere. It was weird. And I had audio going at the time, and it's thank you, Nancy. It's when you hear me go, man, I don't know what just changed here, but the atmosphere just changed, and I had a hard time putting my finger on what it was, and I remember saying, the only thing I can come up with, the only way I can describe it, it's dark.
Wow.
I said, I don't know what's around. I kind of have a sneaky idea, but and at the point I was thinking Dogman. I really was, but I think it was more. Now looking back on it, I think it was more of a paranormal thing because of what we've dealt with since. But it lasted about 30 minutes, and then it was just like, it was gone.
Wow.
It was weird. But that's the only time that I've ever felt that out there. Now, I've walked up to places out there, and I've got a hinky feeling, because I've got to where I can walk up to that place and get different vibes, and I kind of know what I'm going to be dealing with from that, whether it's just critters around, or if it's the paranormal, or it's a little mix of both, or it's just nothing. Because you go up there, that place changes from minute to minute.
Wow.
Because you'll walk up there and it'll be just like a walk in the woods. You go to the cemetery, it's just like, oh, it's an old cemetery, this is cool, blah blah blah. You come back 2 hours later and the vibe has totally changed.
Wow.
It's like, okay, we are not alone.
That's a weird feeling and I've experienced this, when the forest goes absolutely silent.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. And it's a mind-boggling thing, because even the crickets, and you think, what does a bug know? I mean, they just eat and they do their cricket stuff, and then they die, but even they shut up, and it's like, oh my God.
We've had it happen in almost like a crowd wave around the camp. Oh yeah. Now, you talk about weird, right? Because it will. I remember the night that it really, really happened. We were sitting around camp, and it started over on the left side. We were facing the river, and it started. And I was sitting this way, and we were all around the campfire, and it started on this left side, and it was just a wave of silence. Oof. And the crickets and frogs were going, all this kind of stuff, and that is shut up.
Oh man!
And then that wall of silence moved, but afterwards, they would fire back up, not as loud as they were, and it went all the way around the camp. And it was like, okay, well, I'm sitting here getting goosebumps talking about it, but something had come into the area. I don't know what it was. And I'm kind of, when I think about it, I don't think it was a Bigfoot.
Okay.
I think it was something else. Now, I don't know if it was, because there is dogmen in the area. It could have been. Oof. But but we, like I said earlier, we deal with so much out there that's on the paranormal side of things.
Yeah.
That it could have been that, because we got that. I mean, I got a picture of that huge dark entity out there that we measured at like 14 feet tall.
Wow.
And then we've got, when Junior and Senior and Amy and Laney were up there with us from What the Paranormal, we were coming out of the cemetery after we had this crazy freaking night. Everything went off the chain. That's the night we were coming down out of the cemetery, and Junior found a hoof print.
Oh man.
Like this big.
Wow.
And we're like, well, crap, what are we dealing with here? And we've gotten thank you, Daily Dan, man, that's awesome. Appreciate it. We've gotten from several independent sources from just on the legends of the place, from clairvoyance to this and all these different sources that didn't know we were talking to each. We didn't say, hey, we talked to this person. What do you think? Wasn't nothing like that.
Wow.
That there was a huge, the way it was described was a huge, ancient, dark entity that either controlled that place or looked over it.
Sure. Yep.
So now, and every time I think about this, have you seen the Lost Coast tapes? Bigfoot, the Lost Coast tapes?
I don't think so.
Oh God, I love that movie.
Okay.
So if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil the ending for you. But you got to watch the movie, and with the very ending scene, I think that's what we may be dealing with. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Tex, you got to kind of build up the movie just a little bit more. I mean, we got to see the ending.
Okay, this guy goes out to film. He pays this guy like, I don't know, $75,000 for he says he's got a Bigfoot body. Okay. And he goes out in the middle of nowhere, takes a camera crew with him, and this guy's he's an odd dude. He's got electric fence around his I want to say, I can't say, I don't know if it's his property, but there's cabins on it, but these electric fences strung up, ran by a generator to keep Bigfoot out, and everything. So, and it's their stay, and it's one of the better movies out there. I'll guarantee you that.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
But I can't give the ending away because that's the whole culmination of the film.
I will. I'll make sure that I put that down on my list of things to do. Which that list is, from the ceiling to the floor. You know how that goes.
In Humboldt County, California.
Yeah. Speaking of Humboldt, there's Brown Dwarf must be the house. Hey, Brett, I want to make a quick comment on your last encounter story, your story you had there. A lot of that resonated with me, especially as a young person. You know how I mentioned earlier, as a kid, I thought that I saw certain things, and I think that it came to fruition after my encounter, right? So, up north in the Upper Peninsula, my mom and dad would take me and my brother, for the week, a cottage, do some fishing, we do some hiking, and again, it's in the Upper Peninsula. It's vast, and we're talking some years ago. And in the cabin, in our bedroom, me and my brother, we had a set of bunk beds, and they faced a big bay window, and in the background there was the wood line, and then the moon at night would always illuminate the bedroom. Mm-hmm. So pretty cool settings. Me and my brother every night we'd sit up talking, usually ghost stories or something like that, and. But we always noticed, and there was really no wind out, but we always noticed that the tree line was kind of waving back and forth and stuff like that. And we get up and look, and we open a window, and there's no wind, and we're just kind of looking. And I think I remember saying it's probably squirrels and stuff jumping around the trees. I don't know, because it was from the treetops. And we go to bed. Now, after that night, there would be a shadow that would come by this picture window, and it would blacken, and the moon would light up the bedroom like better than a nightlight, which was perfect for us as little kids because we still needed our nightlight, right? So,
sure.
This object would cover the moon and darken the bedroom, and it would be dark for like 5, 4. We'd count back 3, 2, 1. Me and him would always count back, me and my bro, and then it would scoot away, and the room would be lit up. This would happen every night, every time we went up there for 3 years.
Wow!
Looking back at that, and knowing what I know today, I'm sure, Brent, that was something. I can't say what it was, right? But it was something.
Yep.
And it goes to show you, I think that we all have these innate instincts, and I think sometimes it takes something bigger to bring it out.
Right. No, I think that's, again, this is your experience is some people would easily dismiss that, but that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when I say everybody has had experience but they may not acknowledge that it was an experience. I really do believe that. And maybe that's romanticized thinking on my part, but it can't be just me or just you or just a few of us. I mean, this stuff is going on, but I think it's getting back to just being able to acknowledge it or being able to recognize what it is. I mean, everybody has weird instances of like psychic, impressions. Like my mom, for instance, tells a story of when I was a baby and I was in a playpen. It was really hot summer day. We didn't have air conditioning, so she put my playpen in the garage, and she was just around the corner in the house in her sewing room, which is right next to it. And she was checking on me and stuff. And this is the 70s, so it was a whole different world as far as childcare was concerned. But I'm out in there, and she had some toys in my playpen that I would play with. Well, she's sitting there, and suddenly she got this incredible urge that she had to check on me. Like it just overwhelmed her. She was in the middle of sewing something and boom, she said it hit. Like she knew. And so she ran out into the garage and there I was, blue. I was turning blue. My lips were blue and I was not breathing. And she's like, oh my God. She opened my mouth. And what it was is I had this little toy car and it had this little plastic clicker thing that somehow ended up in my mouth and was now lodged in my throat. I couldn't breathe and it was stuck. And, she said that she, took her hand in there and grabbed onto it, hooked and just yanked it out. She said it tore my throat up, but I was dying. And it's those instances that I think show or demonstrate that we're connected. We're connected to maybe something much bigger than us. And of course, I don't, I think that we as people are used to seeing ourselves as these little islands. We're all these little islands that kind of drift through life. But I think we're all interconnected. And I know that that's not a new idea, but I think we're profoundly interconnected. Yeah. And, we are a part of this web. Maybe we're all this idea in the mind of God, or however you want to say that, but I think it's also comforting to know that we're not, these nebulous objects, but we are, in a cocoon of life and part of it and interwoven in it. And I think that cocoon just has a lot of amazing things happening. We just have to learn to see them. That was all.
I'm sorry, Brent. I just read something here that kind of had me stumped, but
okay.
Oh, I'm not above singing for money.
Yeah. But no, I agree 100%, Brent. You and I, there's a lot of things you said that it's just so much resonates with me, and it reminds it. For me, it's a lot of confirmation of things. I'm glad that you came on today because I always learn something from you. I don't get a chance to watch your show that often. A lot of our shows run at the same time. Sure. That's the way life runs, right? With so many people out there. But I've learned some things from you today, and it really affirms a lot of things that I believe in. I got to thank you for that, man.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. It's just really cool. I love this part of what we do, that we can, share ideas and interconnect and help support each other. I think that's really cool and really powerful. One of the things that I guess, if I can briefly just say, when I got into this, I was like, oh man, this is going to be dog eat dog. I'm going to have to crawl over the bodies of my enemies to the top.
Right. Yeah.
And then, I've met so many wonderful people that have been, hey, we should come on. We should talk about your show. We should, and all of these amazing people stepping up and really making it possible. And one of them, was Wes Germer. I mean, he kind of just tucked me under his wing. And it was this incredible moment where I was like, hey, wait, maybe we can work together.
Well, that's good, Brent. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'm going to throw this out there. And I'm really not joking. I've been trying to get him on this show for as long as I text him every month and I bug him. I spoke to him once. He assured me to come on. That was like 8 months ago. So if you want to drop the good word for good old BMR here, because that would be a coup for our fans, not for ratings. Of course, he brings ratings, but he's got a wealth of stories, man. I could sit back. I listen to that Sasquatch Chronicles all the time just for the stories. Yeah. And our audience loves good stories.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then other people like Duke, he's been
Yes, he's
was a
been on a
big part of
couple times.
our formative years as well. And it's neat that we have this network of people that work together and help each other out.
Yeah.
I like that this is the reality of it rather than my initial idea that, oh, it's going to be battle.
Yeah, there's a lot of us out here that we have the hey, we're on the same team mentality, but
Yeah.
we need that to spread bad because there's still
Oh, sure. Yeah.
bridges that need to be gapped out there.
And you'll find Brent with our channel. We got our flagship is Texas Front Porch. We have 5 shows.
Mhm.
Then Bigfoot Mission Rob, that's your channel. Serial Papers with Jason, that's the channel. The Cryptid Huntress, that's Jessica Jones, that's your channel. We all stream our shows for the most part, and we all have our own separate things we do on the side as well, of course. But again, we're here to help each other. I freely posted, on Facebook, and when this show ends, I want you to tell us where we can find you.
Oh,
Your
sure.
hours of operation, when your podcast is on, when your show is on. Big deal, coincides with ours. I'm not here to steal anybody's thunder or fans. I'm here to develop relationships with everybody in the community, podcasters alike with our audience. And I think it's great that we all have similarly the same types of audiences across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can find the Paranormal Portal on youtube.com/paranormal portal. And we're on Facebook, youtube.com or facebook.com/paranormal portal radio. But we do live shows on YouTube Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Both of those, all of that, 2-hour shows, live shows. Then we have a weekly podcast that we release on all the podcasting platforms, and it's simply Paranormal Portal as well. But yeah, I think it's great, brother, and thank you guys for having me on. It's been a blast.
Yep, and
Well,
thanks to Danny State.
I don't want anybody to go anywhere because I've got a treat for everybody. I'm going to try something new, and so y'all, it take me a few minutes to work it out. So y'all just chat, but I've got something special for everybody.
And I do want to thank Danny for posting all of our links to Brent and such, and also for Brent's links you can find in our description. Hi, Gene Hudson, good to see you. So yeah, Brent, he's taking care of our description. Everyone subscribe to the Paranormal Portal, and I don't know what Tex has up his sleeve. I think I have an idea, to be honest with you. And that's just like I think, and if this is what I think it is, we just perform mind speak, Tex. Tex has the big fingers, so to navigate about the keyboard. But then again, I have problems with it too.
Y'all keep talking. Don't wait on me.
Well,
I had to take care of something really quick too, Tex. I know you sprung this on me. I had to go to the back door. So anyway, Brent, do you gonna stick around for the end of this, or you got things to do? I appreciate it. Just
I
trying to fill
I wouldn't miss this.
And of course, I know. I'm just saying, was making up. I'm gonna go and chat. Lara, Paranormal Pixie, hello, Holly, Overbuilt Automotive, Gene Hudson, Donnie Cho. Who else we got in here? World Bigfoot Radio, of course, Dookie, Sandra Piper. My typing is bad, you guys. I'm glad I had an opportunity. Thanks, Danny, for putting out the links. Strangeland, the Ravens Outpost. That's new to the channel.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. Who else? Bomber, I seen you earlier. I said hi. Brown Dwarf, Werewolf, 5674. Meredith Tamariro. A few others here. Gemini, Magneticus. Charles, I'm your Huckleberry. thanks to everybody that pulls up in the chat, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do a show. We do this for you, and we try to present the best quality we can, like guests such as Brent Thomas.
Yeah, Raven's Outpost. That's Lee McNew.
Hey, thanks, Lee.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping in. And tonight, well, of course, you know, when you have your show tonight, Brent, but we have a show tonight, 10 o'clock. Jason McLean with the Serial Papers. That's more of a, I don't know what he's got on slate for tonight. Tex and I are usually on that. And Remote Viewing Investigation, everybody, Friday at 9 Central with Jessica Jones. She's going to have, I'm sure, something great in line for us. And I'm trying to think who I got. Next Thursday, I've got, off the top of my head, Timothy Renner, a Bigfoot.
Oh, sure.
He'll be on the show next Thursday. So
very cool.
So what you got coming up on the portal, Brent? I know how you run your show. Any guests of interest coming up lately, or?
You know, we just got back from Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah, the 5-day event down there. Just got back on Sunday at midnight, as it were, but made a lot of great connections down there. We got some interviews coming up on the podcast, like the one of the gentlemen from Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, Tom Winterton.
Okay.
And he's a great guy, just a bunch of great people. And also talked to Jim Vieira of the Search for the Lost Monsters on the History Channel. He was there, and really interesting, wonderful guy. And then Stacy Brown Jr. interview as well. And great talks, all of them. It was just really neat. And what a great experience. So I'd like to just extend a big thank you to the people in Vernal, Utah, and any of those that might be here that made the journey. It was just a really neat time, and we had a blast.
Yeah, I saw some of your Facebook photos or video you ran. That was a big place you're at. It was like, wow, that was huge.
Yeah, it really was. And of course, Russ Accord of Expedition Bigfoot was there, as well as Ronnie and Maria were there. And just really great. I mean, you know, one thing I really enjoy about those is to get out and to see people, you know, firsthand. It was really awesome. Some of our listeners made the journey, and it's really cool to have a chance to meet the people, you know, because they're a name and they're a chat, and they're, you know, they're. I mean, I know they're there, but it's really cool to have a chance to shake their hands and say thank you so much for the support. That was what was really awesome.
All right, y'all ready for this?
All right, Tex.
I want a soundbite of that, by the way. That's awesome. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah, it is. Y'all ready?
I'm going to mute y'all.
Now you sound like my wife.
Yeah. Right? The devil went down to Georgia, and he was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind because he was way behind. He was willing to make a deal. When he came across this young man sawing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped on the hickory stump and said, "Boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. And you play pretty good fiddle, boy, but give the devil his due. I'll bet a fiddle of gold against your soul, because I think I'm better than you." The boy said, "My name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet, and you're going to regret, because I'm the best there's ever been. Johnny, rosin up your bow and play your fiddle hard, because hell's broke loose in Georgia, and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold. But if you lose, the devil gets your soul." The devil opened his case and he said, "I'll start this show," and fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow. He pulled the bow across the strings and it made a evil hiss. Then a band of demons joined in and it sounded something like this. When the devil finished, Johnny said, "Well, you're pretty good, old son. But sit right down in that chair right there and let me show you how it's done. Fire on the mountain. Run, boys, run. The devil's in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in a bread pan picking out dough. Granny, does your dog bite? No, child, no." The devil bowed his head because he knew he'd been beat, and he laid that golden fiddle on the ground at Johnny's feet. Johnny said, "Devil, come on back if you ever want to try again. I done told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best there's ever been. Fire on the mountain, run, boys, run. The devil's in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in the bread pan picking out dough. Granny, will your dog bite? No, child, no."
Unmute us.
And there
Very,
we go.
very good, Tex. Very good. Well,
Thank you, Daily Dan.
thank you, Daily Dan, for that.
He said 10, I got 20. That's awesome.
Very good. That was pretty cool, Tex. I kind of had an inkling you might do that. I did. I don't know. It dawned on me, and that was pretty cool. I liked it, and I'm glad we got it now recorded. We can use it for something.
Well, I've been thinking about this, and me and Jason's actually talked about it. I don't know if me and you talked about it or not.
Yeah.
But we found it by accident. There's William Shatner does this. He takes these iconic songs and he does them in the spoken word. And thank you, Mariah. And Jason's like, "Man, you could do that." And I said, "Well, yeah, maybe I could, So maybe I'll start doing that and putting them out on the shorts and something. If y'all think it's would be cool.
Yeah. I think everything's cool, Tex. You're just a cool guy, Tex. I enjoyed that. Hey, that was better than Panhandle. You made a quick $30.
Thank you, everybody. We
Thank
really
you
appreciate
for
it.
sure. Thanks, Tex. Thank you, Brent, man. Always a pleasure. Maybe we'll do this again in 6-7 months. You never know. You never know what we can come up with.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. It's been a pleasure, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I wish you continued success with the portal, both the podcast and your stream on YouTube. Very good quality work you do over there. Anybody, go check out Brent Thomas Paranormal Portal.
I'm actually going to be on sort of tonight on well, not your show, Brent, but on Paranormal Highway.
Oh, nice. Good.
Yeah, I did a little voice for him on his cartoons that he does.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I've seen that. He's pretty cool. Gypsy Road, well, formerly Eric over there. Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah, so he wanted me to do a little voice work for him. I did a little bit. It's just a little bit, but yeah, I love doing that stuff. It's fun. So,
oh yeah,
awesome.
All right. Well, once again, thank you to Brent Thomas of the Paranormal Portal. Thank you to Tex. Thank you to everybody out in chat. Thank you to everybody who's going to listen later, tomorrow, the next day, the next week. We do ask you like, you share, you leave a comment. Please subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Check out Brent Thomas Paranormal Portal. I'm going to find the button. Until next time, BMR, Tex, and Brent, we're out.